Hello, everybody. Thank you for joining us again. And yeah, we know we were being recorded the first few seconds.
You didn't.
Well, not the first few seconds. But whatever. Anyways, here we are. We are back, and we are going to do some more reaction.
So this is our second podcast on reacting to the posts that we got from Reddit and Twitter.
Yes.
And all of those places about ABA and how terrible the jobs in an ABA practice are. I mean, that's really it. We got through, 12 or 13 last time, and why not be punished more by reading some of these posts?
Well, and to recap, the first time we hadn't even planned on necessarily recording this, and as we were reading through some to prepare for content and for like how can we help support the ABA community, how can we add to like quality, what can we get out there to ABA business leaders, all the things, right? Like we were reacting to these and we thought, oh, maybe we should video this because we've been asked to do some reaction type videos and we felt like it was really good content. The thing that I did forget though is I was going to bring my computer in here to pull up ethics, but I'll just do it on my phone. All right, so do we want to go to the first one we have?
So now I'll start sharing my screen. All right, so here's the first one.
All right,
okay?
Go ahead and read it.
Is it unethical when companies don't provide a therapist but take on more assessments? That's the title. Hello, everyone. I've been thinking about some ethical concerns with certain companies, including the one I work for. I'm just going to zoom in a little bit. I want to speak up to them and advocate for myself, but I don't know how. It seems like our administration is struggling with timeliness and communication, which results in significant delays in assigning therapists to clients. This means new clients end up waiting for months, which can be frustrating for everyone involved. Parents end up calling me to complain, and I have to basically lie to them. Well, you shouldn't be lying. And are you listening to this?
Yeah.
Lie to them and say that the office is working on it. They probably are working on it. It's tough to see families waiting for essential services while the company takes on new clients without effectively managing the existing workload. Some families end up seeking services elsewhere because of these delays, while others may not feel confident advocating for themselves. I'd love to hear from anyone who has experienced similar challenges and how they handle them. If you have any advice on addressing these concerns with organizations or know of external resources that could offer support, I'd really appreciate your insights. Making sure we deliver timely and effective services is important for our clients' well-being, and I'm committed to finding solutions that uphold ethical standards and prioritize their needs. Thanks for any help or experiences that you share on this topic.
So we don't really know if this person is a tech or a behavior analyst, right? They're just like they have a specific concern that this company, their company is taking on
too many assessments without being able to provide ongoing therapy.
I mean, that's a legit concern. I mean, and like you said earlier, though, they shouldn't lie to. If you're feeling like you're in the position in your job where you're having to lie, then you need to reevaluate like where that lies. Is it with you?
Yep.
Is it with the person that you're working for? Yep. Like who, and address it.
Yes.
But, a big part of the culture, you would consider it the culture of ABA business, is that most business owners don't take on staff until they have the clients for that staff to work with. And whether you could have an opinion on that, I have opinions on that, but I also was in the situation where that's what I had to do.
Yes.
Because that's where you get the money from, like the billables, right?
Correct.
Or just the service, whether it's private pay or insurance or whatever, right? Like the person's providing the service to get the money, and so you can only have a staff member on payroll for so long without having money to come in to take care of that staff.
Yes. And so it's this kind of circular issue that you have is like, do I get clients before I have a staff, or do I get staff before I have clients? What if I get clients, but I get a whole bunch of evening cases and they don't want evening cases, or we can't support all the evening cases? Should we even do the assessment if we can't take them on? Or is it that we're actively looking for staff to take those evening cases on? And, I mean, this is just the way it is, and doesn't necessarily mean it should be this way. But when ABA is in high demand, like it is, and there aren't enough BCBAs or RBTs to take the amount of cases that are out there, I think that this is just going to be the way it is. And then the other issue, like you said, is if we bring on employees and, well, like if you listen to the first one, like, dude, I've been waiting for weeks now to get my first case, right? And they told me, and they're ghosting me. So now we have this situation where, okay, well, I hired this staff, but now the cases that I thought I was going to have for them aren't available at the times that they told me they were, or I had to give them to another employee that's already full-time because they lost a case, or they had to switch cases. I mean, there's just a lot of moving parts.
Oh my goodness, like one of the, I guess you would consider it worst case scenarios is that you get like the client and you get the employee, and then one of them quits. Either the employee doesn't show up to work, or decides that that's not a good fit and they don't want to work with you at last minute, or the family's like, yeah, never mind, we decide. Either they ghost you, or they decide, oh, they let you know, we decide a different avenue or something.
And so like
there's so many moving pieces.
Yeah,
but for business leaders, I will say, like, it's really important to have a plan of how many, whether you do clients first or employees first or however you do it, how many people are you going to have on your wait list? And what are you going to do about people who are on your wait list for more than X amount of time?
Correct. There are many things in here, but like we actually have a case load utilization tool that can help companies with this. You can see how many clients that you have and what level of BCBA they need, so that you can understand, okay, how much staff do I need for these particular cases. It can include drive time averages, so you can get a pretty good idea on the number of techs, BCABAs or BCBAs that you're using. So that can be very helpful, and I would highly recommend having some kind of utilization tool so you know, okay, how many clients can we actually take? And then we have to get into the scheduling aspect of it, right? Another very effective tool where we're not, they're not an affiliate. We have no, no dealings with these people, but I've heard, I don't know. Okay, I'm tired, and it's I don't know. Okay, so
anyways, we get what you mean.
It's ABA Schedules. I believe that's their name, abaschedules.com. Like, they can help you automate the scheduling piece of it, so that this, again, any business owners, any BCBAs or RBTs that have done any amount of scheduling manually with an Excel spreadsheet and a calendar knows how awful this job can be. And it's like, it's not really like, this is a job that you have to apprenticeship for, right? Like, this is a job you got to watch someone, see how they do it, think, oh, okay, we can move this, and we have to move that, and we do this, we got to do this, and this child fits with this ABA therapist and not with this one, because this ABA therapist works mainly with this kind of child or this age range, right? There's a lot of moving parts.
But I'm going to
hold on, I'm not done yet.
It's not awful.
No.
It's challenging.
It's a challenging job.
I liked doing it, but it's time consuming.
Yes. And so those things, they need to be in place so that you can effectively take care of this. And what we've already talked about in the last video was communication, right? So, like, there has to be a system in place for both your staff and your parents of the families that you're going to work with, and say, look, this is the process. We're going to be completely transparent with you, and this is how it works. We do the assessment. we see where you're at. We find out your availability. Then we look at hiring staff. This process can take anywhere from 2 weeks to 6 months, right? Depending on many different circumstances. And just being transparent with them, updating them on a regular basis, and then doing that same thing with your staff. Now, in this situation, just because a company does something like that does not mean they're not going to call up that BCBA that did the assessment and say, where's my RBT? When are you guys coming out, right? They are also going to try and push you. Of course, they want services. They probably can't get it anywhere else either. So why would they not, right? And so again, you as a company and as a staff, knowing what you're going to say in that situation is very important, because the company may legitimately be talking to these people and letting them know the process, right? And then you're saying something different because you think you're supposed to lie. Again, I don't know the situation.
Right. So business leaders communicate
yes,
with your staff,
yes.
with your BSBA supervisors, and let them know like what the process is.
Yeah, and this is
right?
why you need a wait list, right? When did we last contact these people? What did we tell them? So your supervisors, your RBTs can look at that and say, oh, okay, yeah, you got a call 3 days ago. I'm not sure if we talked to mom or dad, but this is where we're at in the process, right? And so just so that everybody's on the same page, because I 100% agree with you that this is about the client's well-being, right? And it is important to deliver timely services. And having these things in place will also let you know, are we taking on too many assessments and not providing enough ongoing services, right? Because that is a part of the ethics. You have to be able to take these services on, but there are a lot of moving parts. And so it's not, it's really difficult. It's challenging. It's this is like an ABA business owners, what just took place there? An ABA business owners, that was weird, right? Are we recording? Yeah, we're recording. Are we recording? Yeah, we're recording. That was weird, right? Just the screen just went black. Anyways, you probably see that in the screen share. But yeah, so this is just something that is ongoing, right? And I think that most companies are going to have a situation like this, but it can, the owners or management can really determine how this works, right? And if they have effective communication and let everybody know transparently how the process works, that can be very helpful for both sides. We good with this one?
Agreed.
Okay. You don't know what you're doing, so here.
How do you know when it's time to go to a new company? Trust your gut now. As a new BCBA, I'm facing challenges at my agency. I want to make a transition plan to leave this company for a better one, but I know it will require time, money, and energy. While I appreciate the agency's non-intrusive approach, there are significant issues with quality control, lack of policies for therapists, and a high turnover rate. Despite bringing up concerns and offering suggestions, it seems like the owner isn't invested in addressing these issues. This lack of administrative oversight has led to therapists disregarding my authority, and I'm left feeling unsupported, especially since I'm also handling HR responsibilities. While I value autonomy, some administrative guidance would be beneficial. For instance, when I reported a therapist for billing while a student was sleeping, it was dismissed by administration. Can't do that. I want to thrive in this environment, but without improvements, it's becoming increasingly challenging. I can't help but feel like so many agencies are like this, except big named ones. Did anyone ever experience this? What's a good exit plan or some things to consider? Okay, so there's a lot here.
Whoa. I can't help but feel like so many agencies are like this, except big named ones. Okay.
Huh. That's a new perspective.
That's certainly a new perspective. Yeah. If you're not supported, so a lot of new startups, this is why we created 3Pi Squared, right? They're like, I can probably do this. And they're doing it pretty successfully, right? They've taken on some staff. Yeah, they're taking on some some clients. Everything's going good. I can micromanage it until I can't micromanage no mo. And so when that happens, you're left here, right? I have no policies. I have no idea what's going on. They're not invested. I guarantee they're invested. At least that's been my experience. It's just they can only work 90 hours a week, right? They can't do 100, or they can only work 100, but they can't work 120. And so there's only a certain amount of time in the day. They're burnt out. They're struggling too, and they're realizing now that they're in over their head, and they don't know what to do to get out of it, because they probably feel like, I have to bring on clients so that I can make enough money, so that I can give my staff wages increases, so that I can give myself a paycheck, so that I can continue this company, right? And so, like, those are situations that I feel, a lot of empathy around. Like, it's just, that's a struggle that it really does happen. And, we get a lot of people that will say, hey, I feel like this person here saying, I'm with a company right now, it doesn't feel supportive, it feels like maybe they're doing unethical things like billing while the client is sleeping, which is unethical, it's fraud. And so what do? I need to start my own practice, right? Like, I just can't find one that I fit with, so I'm just going to start my own thing. And then after 6-8 months, they have no policies and procedures. They've hired too many people. They have too many clients. They're working 100 hours a week, and they don't know what to do. And they feel like they have just created what they left, right? Except they're the owner. So don't do that, right? And so what I would recommend is talking to this BCBA owned business, I assume, right? Since it's a smaller company, at least that's what the assumption is based on the way that this post is worded. So I would reach out to them and say, look, you really should get a mentor. Do some Google searches and see if you can find a mentor in your area, or a good ABA business owner mentor. Local resources like a SCORE mentorship is free, but this person needs support. If they're asking you to do HR responsibilities, it's because they can't do it anymore, because they're probably doing billing, or they're doing scheduling, or they're doing intakes, right? So like, if you want to see the field change, you have to be a leader in this field, right? And so I would recommend reaching out to this person and seeing how you can help support them. Maybe you can become their business partner, right? And then making that solid foundation where there's policies and procedures, so that when you leave, the place doesn't fall apart, right? It's just important to have that all set up before you start seeing clients, before you start hiring staff, before you take on a bunch of low rates, because that's what you do. You sign contracts, right? We want to make sure that we're accepting the right rates, so that you can hire an admin person or something like that, right?
Yeah, and I feel like whether you does this person, I mean, who knows how long ago this was, or where they are, or if they're even listening. But my advice to this person would be that whether it's an exit plan or things to consider would be communication, and if you haven't already, you don't mention it here, so I'm assuming you haven't, but would be communicating, and like Steven said, like, how can I help, like, what's going on, these are my concerns I have, is there any way I can help? But like,
I mean, this person did say when I reported it, the therapist, it was dismissed by administration, whoever the administration is, right? So
yeah, and then also for the business owners, that's why it's important to have a quality control system, policies, and then this also highlights an important thing, that high turnover rate of behavior technicians is super stressful for BCBAs.
Yes.
I think sometimes we fail to address that.
Yes.
We talk about, like, as business owners, the high turnover rate of behavior techs, like, we really address that with them, but it also stresses out your supervision staff, because that's a lot of extra work for them.
Yep.
And and
and
and I will say that is kind of the, we've had people reach out to us, and there are some ABA, like smaller ABA agencies, who hire a lot of BCBAs, a lot of behavior analysts, and like, in the idea, like, the plan there is to kind of let everyone do their own thing. But even with those, like to have less like micromanagement of these BCBAs, like, oh, you're, like more autonomy within it. Even in those models, it's super, even maybe even more important to have policies and procedures and have like, because then you're going to have like, I don't know.
Yeah, it needs to be scalable. And if you don't have the framework on how to provide effective quality services, then it's not scalable. And if you don't have those policies and procedures in place, and maybe you are providing quality services right now because, again, you can micromanage everything you're seeing, every assessment you're seeing, every treatment plan you're seeing, all the mastered skills. You're meeting with all the parents, and you're seeing all the clients, and you're meeting all the staff, and you understand every detail of this practice. It won't stay that way if you grow, right? And so that only lasts for so long, and then you can no longer maintain this, right?
Yeah,
and so
it gets
as
challenging.
you grow, yes,
It gets challenging.
and so then we've heard this. We did a podcast with one guest, and she was like, I left for maternity leave, and I came back, and it was no longer my company, right? And so like these things have to be put in place.
Right.
And a last thing I'll say is, if you ever want to sell this practice, these things have to be put in place.
Yep.
All right.
Inconsiderate.
Let me zoom in.
I recently put in my 2 weeks at this ABA company I've been working in for a while. Mind you, they had so many flaws and could care less about their techs, about their RBTs. They did not care about our concerns or the BCBA, specifically mine. Did not change my client's program at all. Or concern.
Right.
Oh, okay. So, this is a tech. I believe this is a tech.
They did not care about our concerns
or the BCAs did not change my client's program at all. Like they're the BCBA.
Okay. Because I was saying, why is the BCBA not changing? Why is that somebody else's problem?
Everything was in maintenance.
I see.
So like they're not getting like new targets and new programs, that's something you have to. Something you have to keep in check with your BCBAs on for sure.
Yep.
Plus, every time I would bring up a concern about my client, she would just swipe it under the rug and not give me guidance. I am new in the ABA field, and I fell in love with it, and I personally want to take it all the way. But being in a company where my own supervisor gave me no direction or any type of growth for me and my client was very disappointing. I was not the only one who complained about it. My other coworkers who has her as a BCBA has their own personal issues. We all went through the same things with her, such as never changing our clients' programs consistently when getting supervision. All she talks about is her personal life and personal items she's bought and ignored any concerns we had for our client or any confusion. Since I was going through this, I decided to seek guidance elsewhere and move to a different company. I gave my 2 week notice, but the cherry on top of it all is them telling me not to come in for my 2 weeks. Yeah, that happens, unfortunately. I find that so unprofessional knowing they couldn't at least give me the 2 weeks of work before starting somewhere else. ABA companies need to do better with who they're hiring as BCBAs because they're not only stopping the growth for the client, but for any future BCBA. And that's why it's important to have a policy for like who do the techs go to if they've addressed to their BCBAs and they're not getting like any response, like any change of behavior from that. Like who do they go to?
Yeah, I guess my pushback on this would be like if there are only maintenance goals, why are you going to those sessions to begin with, right? That would be my pushback. Again, like we can't just say, and I get that this is a lot, I understand that this is a lot, but we can't just say, oh, well, it's out of my hands, my supervisor won't take care of it. Because you'll look at the last post. That was a supervisor saying, this is out of my hands, I don't know what to do, right? So if it's out of everyone's hands, then what are we doing, right? We shouldn't be doing this. You shouldn't be involved in this at all if we can't provide high-quality services for these children. So at some point, you got to say, I'm not going to the session unless I have new goals or new targets that I've been trained on to competency so that I can effectively provide services. And so that would be my pushback.
Yeah, I mean, into the business leader, I would say that it's important to have processes in place to be able to. Where did I become the process person? I don't know. Process is in place to be able to check in to make sure the BCBAs are doing their job, right?
Yeah.
And so, like, some things that we had in place, we had case review, like monthly case reviews. So we had certain list of things that they would have to come bring, and we would rotate through. We wouldn't get to every case every month, but we would rotate through enough that we could see red flags that would pop up that would lead us to ask more questions to investigate further certain situations. And then we also had acquisition rate data, and that just kind of there again gave us like a quick. Is that high level or low level when it's general and overview? Yes. So there again, we could be like, oh, hold on a minute, what's this about? Why are there no new targets for this? Oh, well, so this reason, right? And then, oh, okay, well, that's a valid reason. When do you think you're going to start putting new targets in? Like, at what point? Like, what data point are you waiting for? Or what length of time? Or, oh, maybe it's because they're working on, I don't know, decreasing some problematic behavior, and then, there could be reasons for it, right? Yeah. And so, being able to keep an eye on that and to know, and then also to have specific expectations and guidelines for the BCBAs of how they are to do their job within your company. Like, how often do they need to update things and what their responsibilities are? Because it's not outlined, especially if you have a new BCBA, like, that's part of their training, and that's like what this whole skills thing that we're doing. Like,
yes.
At this, like, this screams like you need this would be helpful to the BCBA and the RBT to know what their expectations are, and to know, like, not only what their own expectations are, but what is their supervisor's expectation. And then, like I said before, who do they go to if they're not getting what they need? And then at that point, yes, like, ethically, it will come to a point where you're like, I do not feel like I'm providing quality ethical services for these clients, and I'm very concerned, and I can't show up. I can't attend the next session, or maybe, like, give them a period of time and say, I really need to talk with the supervisor. I need more training on this. We need more programs, whatever. Within the next couple of weeks, or, I'm not going to be able to attend a session.
Yeah, I guess I look at this one, and it just, like, after all the other ones that we read, and, like, I came into this, or at least my perspective of this is that the average BCBA has 3 years experience. RBTs are getting 40 hours of training and then thrown in with clients. And my perspective was there's just not enough training to provide quality services. And now I look at this now very differently. And I think that the inadequate training is that if this happens, you stop now, right? If you have 25 cases and you don't have enough time to adequately supervise your staff, you stop now. If I'm going to my sessions as an RBT or a BT and all of the programs are mastered, you stop now. If I'm not getting my 5% supervision and I'm not seeing my supervisor, twice a month at minimum, you stop now, right? Like, if the BCBAs and the RBTs, and not to put this all on you, but, like, again, if you want to see meaningful change, which it sounds like you do, then we have to put the brakes on things. That's the only way that things are going to change effectively, is that if you are in an unethical situation, it stops. And then the company either changes what they're doing, or you move on to a different company. I don't know. That's just, like, that's my feeling at this point. And so I feel like that training is lacking. I think that there needs to be more emphasis on, like, what to do when, right? And what to do when should be, okay, I stop and I figure out what to do, right? Like, I'm not going to see this case, like, I'm going to stop and find out what to do. I'm not going to do this for 3 months And then this comes to the RBT where they're all like, we don't know what the supervisor's going through.
Well, I mean,
right?
and I think that you have to have a plan, like, going before you even get to this point, right? And so, yeah, maybe that's something, is like a plan for techs or behavior analysts before they even get into a job of, like,
Yes.
This is my plan, this is how ethically I'm going to come into this company
Yes.
and do my job. Because, I mean, it's easy enough for you to say, just stop. Well, what if I got bills to pay? What if I got kids to feed? You know, or, you know, what if I'm not a confrontational person and this, like, terrifies me, so maybe I'm just going to go
So
to the
are we
company.
worried about the clients, or are we not then? That's all. I'm just asking.
So that I can
asking.
just, but I would, you know, like, some people just, this is when they just ghost the company. And they don't even have.
Well, then they're not getting any hours or getting paid.
Well, that's true. But I feel like conversations should be had, but I feel like going into having a plan going into it to know it, okay, and that might be something that would be good in, like, RBT training, right?
Yes.
It's like, what do you do when you go into a company and you start, what are the red flags? Because,
Yes.
like, so I think a lot of times, especially new techs, don't even realize
They don't.
the direction this is going until it's too late.
Yes.
And then they're like, hold on, I don't even know what to do now. I'm in this really deep. Am I responsible for this?
Yeah.
You know, and so I think I agree with what you're saying, but I also think that you should have a preventative strategy as well. It was
Of course.
going into it. And maybe that's something we can work on in providing.
Yes.
But yeah.
Yeah, I think that, like, as an industry, as a field, there has to be massive change. And when you're working with an unethical company, I don't know what else to do, right?
Yeah.
So, okay, let me zoom in.
Oh, I was going to try to do the magic, but... All right, a lot of ABA companies do not care about ethics or good morals. I just can't. I don't know. Like, having, like, recording, like, 3 of these in a row might not be
Well, like, you have this person
for
here
my mental space.
that says the problem with investors, right? Now, the other one we had just 2 ago was, like, all these small companies suck, right?
And now it's
this
just a lot of them. A lot of ABA companies.
Now we just, no, it's
is
with
it
investors seeing the dollar signs.
Oh, I see. Where we have a serious problem where investors are coming in and seeing dollar signs. Okay, I hadn't even read that far yet because I was just like...
Morals. Ethics.
Good ethics and morals. Come on, people. Okay, bodies to bill and keep the money mill running. It's honestly kind of frustrating to try to do your job well, and you feel like you're drowning because no one else does anything. They are just coasting. So it's almost become the whole free rider system, but the good ones feel like they're being taken advantage of, so then we do less, and it's a vicious cycle. I'm a VCVA. See, we went into this thinking that a lot of these are going to be texts. We had our virtual assistant, like, pull a bunch of these like, snapshots for us, and we're seeing just as many BCBAs, if not more BCBAs than RBTs.
Yep.
And my southern accent really came out there. RBTs. Anyways. Okay, so this person's a BCBA and they feel very defeated. I can totally feel that in reading what we've read already. Taking over messy cases and exactly what you're describing, programs and maintenance, programs that have been met. So maybe I wonder if this is a reply to the last one we just read. Taking over messy cases, programs never added to data book, and another report is due to explaining why it wasn't added or ran. I had an RVT say to me, wow, you went in and did work on the data book, adding programs and making modifications. And I was shocked because I felt I was barely doing the bare minimum of what I would regularly do. Goes to show it had been a while since someone updated anything. It's sad. The only thing keeping me doing my job to the best of my ability is my clients, their families, and my love for this field. Yeah, I mean, it really comes down to communication and expectations. But I'm gonna echo what Steven said. Like,
coming to the dark side.
Yeah, you gotta at some point. Yeah. At some point, like, it's almost like
we need to build a course.
It's almost, we totally do.
We're going to build a course. We don't need to. No, this is going to be what our responsibility is in this situation. We have identified a problem, and we are going to come up with a solution. So the solution is educating BTs and BAs on these are the hard, fast stop. Like, this is out of bounds, a red flag, right? This is nope. The play is stopped until this is fixed. And if it's not fixed, then you have to stop because you care for your clients, you care for your families. And if you cannot update their programs, then you're not providing services that they need. And we have to stop.
So this, like, okay, so this is like screaming like unhealthy relationships.
Yes,
to me,
it's abusive, right? like dad, the drunk, right?
Trigger warning.
Right? Yes, it's an abuse. It is.
Well, it is. It is like some kind of like codependent, abusive.
Yes. And again, I hope that people hear me when I say it is not like this is not just a company problem. Mm-hmm. There are a lot of well-meaning AB business owners, and it isn't just like, you know what, I was anti-PE until I met some really awesome PE that we're working with right now.
Yeah.
And they want to be different, and I can see that they are different.
They are striving. And they are making a difference.
So, like, it does matter. It's more about the intention behind it. And so many of these practices, like this one says, they see the dollar signs, right? They say, wow, look at these rates. I can definitely make this without this company, and I'll make a whole lot more money. And then they get into it. They get over their head. They don't have any plans, policies, procedures, systems in place. And now it's this vicious cycle of we don't have enough time with the caseload that we currently have.
So, like, early in my ABA practice, right, as I was learning, I mean, that's what we've been very clear, like, I think, and over the years, talking about how that's why 3 pi squared is here, is because of Stephen's ability, his knowledge in like processes and like whatever, all of that. And because we were in that spot that we grew too fast and I could no longer micromanage things. And there was a point in our company where it was brought to my attention by a tech that a BCBA was not updating things, was not providing adequate supervision, was not showing up. So we said, oh, wow, that's not good. Oh, I'm not okay with that. Thank you for coming to me. And then we put processes in place to stop, like I said before, like case studies.
We put those processes in place. And then we asked the techs, hey, have things gotten better?
Yes, and then we also, we put the process in place, but we also took data on it.
Yes.
We added more clear expectations within our supervisor handbook, within like, and we even had like tech training to help them to understand what that supervisor.
And this particular BCBA was having some trouble at home, if I remember correctly.
Yeah.
And so like there was life issues,
and
right?
And from time to time, we would pick up on this.
Yes.
Every now and then. Not saying that there was any one BCBA that worked for us that didn't do a great job, but it was like there was from time to time a season of life. Hey, I'm noticing there's a couple of these red flags here. There's a couple of kids who aren't progressing like they were. Why is this plateau? It's kind of odd that there's several kids. Well, we were able to get it really quickly and reach out to the BCBA and provide them support. Well, gosh, maybe their caseload got really stressful. You know, even though maybe the hours, you didn't like flag because of the hours, it was just the intensity of the case, whatever it may be. But then we worked together to solve it. So I'm not saying that anyone out there has to run a perfect company where none of these problems ever happen.
We were definitely not perfect.
Because that's not what I'm saying. So I don't want anyone to take it to the extreme either. We're all human, and we're working in a helping field, and we're working with individuals on a spectrum, right? And so in-home, clinic. But the thing is, we have to be able to communicate, and we have to be able to like remedy these things.
Oh no, I wasn't sharing my screen.
Well, we read them. That just means we were all big. What?
Well, I can just get Alejandro
to add them in.
To add it in. Yeah.
So okay, well, I don't even know what time are we at. How long do we have?
40 minutes.
All right, let's do like one or two more. And let's see if there are any, like, we're just going to pick the next one out of the hat, but I'll be curious to see if there are any differences. But we definitely are seeing quite a similar trend here. ABA companies are what keeps your job a job, though.
So this must be a response.
The field wouldn't exist if these big companies didn't lobby for insurance money. The field is a pyramid scheme wrapped around science theories and banking off of credential. Okay.
And then the response to this, a pyramid scheme, holy crap, that is so accurate. Like, I swear the hourly wage could vary between $20 and $28, and you would still never make more than $40K a year. I've been a BT for 5.5 years, and now I feel like I barely make more than when I started. Maybe $10K more a year, so like 25%, okay? But that's not a whole lot compared to other fields where you could literally just job hop and make much more. Oh, okay.
Oh, yeah. I don't know how much I want to say about this, but I don't know. I am curious to look into. I know at one point when we did one of our first, I think maybe when we did our panel, when we did our I Hate My Job panel, like getting ready for this series, I looked to see like how many disgruntled employees are in just a few other random fields, and there's people hating their jobs there too. So I don't know what other careers or jobs in this range, like how normal is it for people to just keep growing and growing and growing? Because especially when there's education stipulations or education like expectations for different levels, like if you have like a teacher assistant versus a teacher,
so vet tech, let's say, okay, no, I get that these are different, but it's a bottom tier position, sorry, but it is. And so this is 2024. I assume that this is prior to COVID, but we'll see. They can average 42 to 67 depending on the area. So generally falling between $13, $36, and $21 an hour. So
what about like teacher assistants?
Yeah, so let's do it. Teacher assistant
or paraprofessional. It depends on where you are in the country or what they call it.
That's 44 is the average.
But still, there's like a cap. Like there's like a range.
It's 32 to 58.
Yeah.
The average being 44, right?
So I mean, I get that, like in the fact of like you feel like you're kind of trapped within like but that's kind of how jobs work. I don't know whether you're a teaching assistant or but to become a teacher, you have to have a teaching certificate, right?
Dental
and then
assistant,
you can make more.
38 to 63. Right.
So then you could go to school to be a dentist and make more. I think it's like kind of similar to that. I don't know. I don't know. I mean, you look at
like and going completely outside of this realm, like looking at an apprentice for like a carpentry or electrical. I can guarantee they're probably getting similar to that. And the idea here is, because this is a lot more like an apprentice. Well, I mean, you could look at a doctor; they have to get a certain amount of hours too, right? So, but like with an apprenticeship, you have to get a certain amount of hours and a certain amount of coursework, and then you have to take your exam, right? And so they're not making a ton of money when they're an apprentice. Why? Because the electrical company or the carpentry company, they can't use them independently. Not until they have that red seal, right? Yeah. And then they can go out and do their own jobs, right? And so like it's I hear.
I mean, even me as a BCABA, right?
Yes.
I mean, I'm limited. Yes. I'm extremely limited. Like if I were to go out and work at a clinic or in-home services, like as an employee, as a BCABA, like I would be limited. I would have a range, and that's where I would be until I went to. And if I decided to become a BCBA, and then I would have a different set of rights.
Like if you're not happy with 28 hours as a tech, then I'm sorry.
$28 an hour.
Yeah, $20 to $28 an hour.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So if you're not okay with $28 an hour, then I don't know. Like maybe go somewhere different. Like unfortunately, right?
Yeah.
Like
I feel like this next one might be more. No. All right, so this next one, ABA fails due to companies like Card, who take advantage of the whole system to monetarily benefit themselves. They use these children cash cows and cut corners. They are the ones that give ABA a bad name, along with others and their unethical practices. someone responded to that. I will always upvote anti-card comments. Terrible company. I feel icky having worked for them for so long. Someone else said, same. I just recently left when they decided to close all of their Oregon clinics, which they closed for money, of course. And it wasn't until I started working at another ABA provider that I realized just how terrible it was. I mean,
just hold on, pause, so we don't get in any legal trouble. We are just reading the comments. I am not saying that card is good or bad. I'm sure that they are just like every other ABA practice where there's positives and negatives to them. So like, and you know, I see this quite often. Again, I see this quite often where it's the PEs are bad. No, it's the small agencies that are bad. You know what?
Doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter. And I wish that there was a way that you could discriminate against certain companies and know that you're going to find a good one. But obviously, by the amount of comments that we have here on small and big and medium-sized companies, doesn't seem to matter. So, like, if you're finding yourself, regardless of the company, in an unethical situation, it is your duty to stop, right? Like, I don't know what else to tell you.
Yeah.
All right, last one.
Any experiences with Behavioral Learning Network? I don't know this. I am new to the field, training to be an RBT, and I have a few job offers. One of them is from Behavioral Learning Network. Does anyone have experience with or opinions about them? Everything about their offer is solid, except for they require a 13-month commitment. If I quit before then, they'd want me to pay a fee. And then someone says, please don't agree to a job that requires you to work for a period of time. It's predatory and not right, and that means they've got a turnover problem. I don't know Behavioral Learning Network. Is this a company? Or I don't know anything about them, so...
Yeah, I know nothing about them. I don't know if this is a true statement, but I would agree that having to agree to a 13-month commitment, I don't know where are they going to train you to be an RBT, training to be an RBT. So they are probably saying, we will provide this training, but if you quit within 13 months, then you have to pay for the training again. As a person that was in the engineering field, that when they would give me a course or let me go to school, that was the stipulation. So I don't know. I'm pretty sure that this is kind of a standard thing, right? Like if a company invests a whole lot of money and time into training you, then they want to see a return on their investment. So now, is this something that we did? No. But I can understand why companies might do something like this. Yeah. And now you can make a judgment call here, and I'm not saying it's right or wrong. I think that I would say that this, for a BCBA, I think there may be a case here for an RBT, which could be maybe a free 40-hour training. Now, I'm not sure that there is a case, in my opinion, for that. But yeah, I don't know this company. Yeah.
Well, and I would say if you found yourself in a position like this, I mean, you could reach out to an employment attorney. Mm-hmm. And if there's like a contract that comes with this, you could maybe reach out to an employment attorney.
Yeah, but you may have limited funds. So like if you have two companies and they're, similar reviews online, obviously do your research. You feel good about both interviews. You feel like both companies are going to support you. One has a 13-month contract and the other one doesn't. Seems like an obvious choice to me.
Yeah, I agree. Let's do one last one and then we'll end it for today. I could see the title, and so, yeah. Is this a normal policy for ABA companies? I got a job offer for a behavioral interventionist position, but after reading through the policies and whatnot, I found that if you quit the job within a year, you owe the company $1,200 for training reimbursement. Is this a normal thing in this field, or is this specific company scummy? I didn't end up signing any of the paperwork, and it made me lose interest in that job, but I'm just wondering if this is common. So it's very similar to this last one.
It seems like this is common, in my opinion, and like I've
because of the turnover rate.
Yeah, and so we've talked about this in the past, and what I didn't say in that last one that we did is this is the thing. Like, how do you want to come off to potential employees? And this is like you're selling yourself right now, right? So you have two companies that you've interviewed with, because I can guarantee techs are like, they're in high demand. They get to pick where they go, right? So you have two companies with similar reviews. You had similar feelings about the interview process. You feel like both companies would support you in moving further into this career, and you're picking $1,200 if I don't like this company and I have to leave before the year is up, or no commitment. Which one are you going to pick? This is obvious. So, like, I can guarantee that a lot of people think this. Wow, they're telling me right up front that if I don't like this place, I don't feel good about this place, and I decide to leave this place, then I'm going to owe them money. I think I'll pass on this place. So just for any companies listening to this, I like you are reducing your potential staff pool, right? And I would
go back to the drawing board.
Yeah, I would also say you're probably losing the good ones. The ones that are actually reading the contract, the ones the ones that sign this and say, "Yeah, this is great. I'm good." Those people didn't read this, and I can guarantee they're going to quit. And you're going to send them a bill for $1,200, and they're going to say, "What's this? I don't know what you're talking about." And you're going to be like, "Oh, every time we do this, every time," because the ones reading it didn't. They did not come back. So if you find yourself in that situation, I would suggest maybe not putting this in, right? Like we do have a calculator on our website, and if someone remembers to put the link in to this, then congratulations. But you can also just go to our news and scroll through that. You'll see the calculators in one of those blogs. But yeah, like it's about $8,000 when you lose an RBT, and so like this is going to put a bad taste in high quality BTs. They're not either they're not going to sign with you, or they're going to leave at day 366. And go somewhere else. So if this is the staff that you want, then I guess continue. But and again, this is my opinion, right? But that's how I look at it. But I can also, just pushing back on my own comments, I can also completely understand why people knee-jerk reaction this. They have a high turnover.
It's $8,000
maybe it's because they don't have policies and procedures or standards or adequate training. And why? Because they have low reimbursement rates. Like I can understand. And so the idea is, well, we can't invest in the necessary training or support, so we'll put this in as a preventative so that people won't leave, and I would like to see how effective this is. And then the other question I would have is, how often are you getting this $1,200 back? So that's all. I've seen one person that was very proud that they had this in their policies and procedures, and they were like they had no issue at all collecting this, and they apparently were successful collecting it. If this is over someone's head, I don't know. It doesn't feel like a great working relationship.
What's
if this
why?
is the only reason someone's staying with your company,
well, absolutely. Then that's the only reason they're staying. Then you might not be happy with their level of work. I don't know. Maybe they're a really good person and they're going to put in the good work but those are kind of a gym, I think. But know your values. Does this match your values? Maybe it does.
So, you know what? You can comment on this wonderful reaction video and tell me where I'm wrong. I would actually appreciate the comments.
Yeah,
and
we would love your
really,
comments.
like, I would love a different perspective, and we don't always hit the mark. And so, but to the two companies that were named in this video, again, I don't know either one of these companies. I'm sure they do excellent work. So I'm not going to say that. I'm not calling out any funders. I'm not calling out any providers. It's like, if you find RBT, BT, BCBA, BA, whatever you want to call yourself, if you find you're in a situation where you're being asked, or you maybe aren't even being asked, but you feel like you're being asked to do something that is unethical, or you wouldn't do if it was your own practice, then probably you should stop until you get an answer that would satisfy you. And if you don't get that answer, then perhaps you should find somewhere else to go.
Well, I mean, in these really big companies that, like the one that was mentioned, they are like nationwide and there's numerous clinics, right? And so
Yeah.
I would wonder, like, just because one clinic would put a bad taste in your mouth, does it mean
Doesn't
they're
mean
all
they're
that
all
way?
bad.
I
Right.
don't know.
And again, like this, who knows where this BCBA was
Yeah.
at in this situation,
Or tech or
like,
whatever.
Again, I'm pushing back again. Like, I bet I can guarantee CARD has a whole lot of standards. Right now, was that BCBA following those standards, or was that clinic following those standards? I don't know, but I can guarantee they probably have a whistleblower policy, right? Like these things are probably already in place, and so I don't know. I think that again, if you find this whole theme, it's a thing. If you find yourself in a situation where you don't know what to do, then you have to stop until you find out what to do. Right?
You know what? I know we're wrapping up here, but it did put a thought into my head. What if you are working for a company that has policies and procedures and they have amazing handbooks, but you don't know what's in the handbooks? Like, that's also would be a very great thing as a tech and a BCBA, as an employee of a company, to get to know the handbooks. So that if they do have handbooks, and if they're not following their handbooks, then you can bring their handbooks to them.
Yes, I 100%
and like,
agree.
because we talk about how handbooks for business leaders, handbooks are like super important as part of the communication, and it's part of expressing the expectation of, you know, all the job and everything that goes with it. And so if you're working for a company that has handbooks, get to know the handbooks and use them to not saying that that's just, but that just as a tool, right? And then bring them to them and say, hey, I was reading through the handbook because I had this issue. Look back to the handbook before I wanted to come talk to you. This doesn't answer my question. Is there another policy or anything that might answer my question? Or, you know, hey, this is what I see I'm supposed to do. So I'm following step one and I'm coming to you now. What's next? You know, and like hold them to it. Hold them to their handbooks. I'm not saying that's going to be like the easy answer is going to fix everything, but it is a tool. It is a strategy.
I agree, and like I said, like the pushback that I've heard from owners is on our handbook specifically is like, my staff are not going to read this.
But whose responsibility is that? If you're complaining about your job, like, your first line of defense is to read the handbook, because you might find some good.
No,
else, you might find some good ammunition there.
Yeah, I think we're making enemies at all sides at this point.
We are.
Anyways. I would love your feedback. Honestly, truly, comment and push back. If you have a different perspective than what we offer here, I would like to know that, so that. You know, the more we know, the better we can do. I think that as a field, while I'm not really a member of this field, I think that
you're a helper in this field.
I'm a helper, yeah. So I think that we could all do better, and that includes myself. So if you have something that you feel I could learn, I would greatly appreciate it, and hopefully we can grow together.
All right.
That was good, right?
Thank you, everyone. I'll see you next time.
Toodles.